All right. Hello, everyone. Megan Ryan. I'm a counselor here at the high school. I've been here for 9 years. When I was actually an intern here 10 years ago, I implemented this program. That was my legacy project here at the high school, was starting Naviance. We've had it here for 10 years. We use this. This is your key tool for applying to college from North Andover High School. You're going to use this tool for everything from searching for colleges, to doing career and interest inventories, to requesting teacher recommendations, to filling out guidance counselor rec forms to help your counselor write your letter of recommendation. So we use this, and you can also use this tool to track your applications and track everything that's sent from the high school. So we use this for a ton of different stuff. Every student has an account. Every parent has an account. The parent's account is mostly a view only. We do that for a reason. The student should really own this. And it's not even us, Naviance does this for a reason. The student should really own this process, and we want you to be a part of it. We obviously want you to be seeing what your student is doing. However, it's really the student who should be filling out their rec forms and requesting teacher recommendations and doing college searches and all that good stuff. So what I'm first going to do is go through a lot of the stuff on the student side of things, and then I'll show you how it looks on the parent side and what you can do versus what you can just view. Okay? I'm going to sit down and do everything on here. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to call out, raise your hand, do whatever. I'm happy to stop and walk you through anything else that we're doing. This is all live, so if this is your opportunity to kind of get whatever you need out of this, so I'm happy to kind of back up and answer any questions I need to. Okay? So students, every junior already has an account. And if they don't have it or don't remember it, they should get in touch with their counselor. They can give it to them. Every parent also has an account. And again, if you don't have your login information, you can certainly email your guidance counselor and they can take care of that for you. So this is what you see when you first log in to your student's account. On the home page, you see the student's name at the top. If there's any messages, so we send out a ton of messages via Naviance. If you have registered, it will come to both your Naviance account and to your email, so you can definitely get information about tonight, about different SAT and ACT tests, college financial aid night, the guidance newsletter comes out this way, the PIC meetings come out this way, so you can get a ton of information if you're on this communication. So the first thing I'm going to take you guys through is a little bit about the strengths inventory. One of the things we think is really important in a lot of the conversations that we want to have with students is not only about sort of making the checklist and making sure that you have the right college list and you're applying to everything and everything's been checked off, but what does that mean for you? What's that process going to be like? What do you want to be when you grow up? Who do you want to be when you grow up? And it's not like you have to have a definitive answer. If we think about our own career path and potentially what you thought you were going to do starting off as an 18, 19, 20-year-old young person, and then what you're doing now, it could be very, very different. But we want to start having those conversations because it gets kids to be thinking about, what am I interested in? What am I good at? How do I relate to other people? And what is that going to mean for me vocationally in life? And so that's one of the things that we want to really have students explore, and the Strengths Explorer is what does that. This is an interest inventory that students can complete. My test student has completed it, and their top 3 themes are relating, dependability, and confidence. So those, they seem kind of fluffy in terms of, okay, so what am I going to do with that? But then it sort of makes it a little bit more concrete when you then start to talk about, okay, so what are some job fields or career paths that could be a really good thing for a student who has strengths like these? So when you start to select these pathways, you start to then get into specific careers and then also college majors. So if you're talking to your student or students, if your parents are asking you, what do you want to do? What do you want to major in? What do you want to be? And if you don't have an answer or you're not hearing an answer, this is a really good way to at least get you guys thinking about and talking about what are some of the options. One of the things we hear a lot from students is that they know what the possibilities are in terms of career based on what they've come in contact with so far. So nurses, doctors, teachers, all that kind of stuff. And then what their parents do. That makes sense, right? But the reality is that there's a myriad of different things out there far beyond what they've been exposed to so far that could really fit them well based on their strengths and their interests. So we want to kind of hone in on those different possibilities and just get them thinking so that they're not closing their mind to things that they haven't even thought of or that they know exist yet. So that's just one of the things that we're talking about there. The next thing that we want students to be able to do is under the colleges tab. So this is where you're going to spend the most of your time in the next year to year and a half. There are over 3,000 schools in America. That's a lot. And we need to find a way to kind of start to pare down, that 3,000 plus number down to a reasonable number for students to be interested in. So whether that's based on location, major, how rigorous the school is, all that kind of stuff, there are ways that we can kind of pare that down for students. So one of the things that I think that students should really be doing is a college search. And this can be as broad or as specific as you need it to be. My suggestion is that it stays fairly broad at the beginning because you really want to get that larger list and then start to be able to pull out some various options from that. So, for example, if my student was looking for a four-year school, didn't matter if it was public or private, looking to go to a co-ed school, in a city of some sort, we don't care about the religious affiliation of the school. My student wants to stay in New England. They like a medium-sized school. I now have a list of 15 schools. So, here it is. So now what I can do is I can actually put some additional filters on this to kind of sort this list. So for example, if I put percent accepted tells me of the applicants what's the percentage of students that actually get into that school. And these are national averages. Okay, so you have a range, and that's where we want to be at this point. You have very, very, very competitive schools like Harvard and Yale and Brown that are accepting less than 10% of students. And then we have some other schools that have a higher acceptance rate for students like Suffolk and Southern Maine that accept 83%. So you kind of want to base that list. And what I always do for students, so typically if we've got a bigger list, so let's say our enrollment, we don't really care about our enrollment, or we're okay with a little bit smaller and a little bit bigger. So our list jumps from 15 to 43, okay? So again, you have this percent accepted, you have a nice range of schools. Now you want to start to pick some of these schools. And what we will do as counselors when we meet with your student one-on-one in the springtime is we'll actually help students kind of to develop this list. So if a student has been to a college, we can help them, what did you like about the school? What didn't you like about the school? And we can kind of help find overlaps and give them other schools that they should be looking at. If a student comes to me and says, I have no idea what I like, I haven't been anywhere, I'll give them a nice cross-section of some smaller schools, some medium schools, some city schools, some suburban schools, so they can kind of get a little bit of everything, and then they can start kind of going through that and paring down their list from the general list that I give them. So let's say we want our student to look at Emmanuel, Keene, and good old Merrimack. So when I click pick, it shows up in this hand-picked list up here, okay? What we can also do is we can save this search. So we'll call this College Bound Junior Night and save it. So now whenever I log into Naviance, I can come back to this search knowing that these are my search criteria, okay? Now, from this hand-pick, so I have this big list, and now I've selected some schools I want to think about. I want to add them to my list. And so I click on Add to Colleges I'm Thinking About. Okay? And this student already had a couple of schools because this student wanted to show you some things that you need to see on this list. So you have this list of schools. This is your working list, okay? So this is what I tell students. This is what they're operating off of from now until next September, October. This is their I'm thinking about it list. I want to go visit it list. It's my dream school list, all of that kind of stuff. And you can get a lot of information from this page. So first, you have the list of all the schools. Then you have the delivery type. This is how the student's application is going to get to the school. So when you see a computer screen with a CA, that means that it's going to be delivered via the Common App. So it's a college that accepts the Common Application. Good information, because it's a great way to apply to a lot of schools on one application. Okay? Then you have a school like Endicott and Penn State. They accept electronic submission, which means you'll apply online. Our documents coming from the high school will come online, but it's not through the Common Application. So you'll be filling out a your student will be filling out a school-specific application for that school. Okay? Then you have some schools like Georgetown that still like to go old school and things get mailed. So when you see a stamp, it's snail mail. Okay, so we send everything in the mail, and that's how you know that things are going to get tracked. All right, so that's the application type. Then you see all of your deadlines, and these change and update automatically every year for us. So it's something that Naviance is really good about. So you have the early decision deadline. ED is when you can apply to one school. It is binding if you get in, okay? And there actually is an agreement that both the student, the parent, and your guidance counselor has to sign indicating that you are applying to one school. So a lot of schools don't even do early decision anymore. It's really tough on kids to be kind of committed and tied to that, and I think it's tough for parents too in terms of the financial piece. But that's ED. Early action. Early action is the same as early decision, except for the fact that it's non-binding. So you can apply to several schools early action, and you're going to get your decision back from a college right around Christmas time. Is when it's typically going to get your information back. Okay. Then your priority deadline has to do with rolling admissions. So rolling admissions means there's not a hard, fast deadline for a school, but that as your admissions package is completed at a school, meaning the application, the transcript, the letters of recommendations, the standardized testing, once all those different things coming from different places gets to the college, the student's application is marked completed, and then the review board will review that application and roll back a decision to you. So if your application is completed in October or November, your decision will be rolled back to you then. If it's completed in March or April, it will get rolled back to you then. So that's the idea of the rolling admission. The benefit of applying earlier in the game in terms of a rolling admission, there's more spots to be given out. And then you have the traditional or regular decision. Your application deadline could be anywhere from January 1st all the way through April 1st, and you'll hear back sometime before then. The national deadline to give a deposit is May 1st, so that's something that across the country everyone's decision is made by May 1st. Okay? Then when you have a school like Penn State and there's no priority, that means they're rolling admissions and there's no priority given. So with a school like Endicott, rolling admissions, however, they're giving some priority to things like housing, maybe there's a financial aid priority, things like that. There are questions about any of that information? Okay.
What's the My Interests tab?
So this is sort of your ability to kind of talk about and kind of keep track of, what do you like, what don't you like. So if BU is my dream school, it's more just for the student to kind of rank that on their own. And that's also something that's good because I'm able to see that and your parents are able to see it. So everything a student does in here, I can see as your counselor and your parents can see. So it's just good information so that if I know that if I want students to go through their list of like 12 schools and kind of take a look at them online and rank them, then I can see, okay, the student has done that now, they're ready to come back down and see me so we can talk about what you liked and what you haven't liked. Okay?
Do they show costs on there at all for the colleges?
Yep,
All right.
absolutely. So let's get into the fun part, money. So for example, let's click on BU. Now you're going to see a profile page for every school. And this is where a wealth of information is going to be provided to the student in a very organized way that's going to be consistent for every school in this program. So when you go to a college website, it can be set up very differently, different pages can contain different information, but in Naviance, everything is kept in the same spot for every college. So you have some pictures of the campus, sometimes there's video there, you have some information. Here you have some information about how I'm the test student, stacks up. And this is against other students from North Andover High School who have applied to BU. So the average accepted GPA for someone from this high school applying to BU is a 4.14. Okay? So I would be below that average. If my GPA was higher, this number would be green. Okay? Very similar to my SAT score is a little bit lower than the average. And I can see that out of the 355 students that have applied to BU from North Andover High School, 163 have gotten in. So down here you'll see some information. They have some admissions information. So what they put out is their accepted GPA national. This is what the school publishes as their accepted GPA is a 3.7. Okay, so you can see that there's a discrepancy between the average accepted GPA for our students and what they're sort of saying is their national acceptance rate. And that's okay. And the way that we take a look at this is we look at the graph. So this is our scatter plot. Okay, and every student will be able to become a spot on this scatter plot once their GPA and their SAT scores are entered into Naviance over the summer. We enter in all the students' GPAs the week of July 4th. Once grades are closed and summer's out, we enter that information, and then you guys can start using your SAT scores and GPA to find out kind of comparatively where you are. And again, these are only students from North Andover High School. Okay, so we're seeing that, you know, a student with a 3.5-ish, 1900, you're sort of still in the ballpark. Okay, so you're kind of seeing students that are around you. This student is kind of on the cusp. So in terms of SATs, that they're a possibility, but in terms of a GPA, they're a little bit on the low side. Okay, so that's a good way to kind of figure out, you know, how far below or above that average line can you be for it to still be a possibility. And that's just based on the numbers, right? So there's a lot more that goes into being accepted into a college than just your GPA and your SATs, but it's a good place for us to start, and it's a good way for you guys to kind of see how students are comparing against other North Andover High School students, because there are some schools that love our students, and there are some schools that our students have a hard time getting into. Okay? So that's that information.
So the X's are the people who didn't get in?
Yep, so down, I'll scroll down, sorry, there's a legend down here. So the green is accepted, the red X's are denied, blues are waitlisted or deferred. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, if a family works with an outside consultant,
Yep.
do they work in turn with your guidance program here, and all the applications have to go through this process?
Yes. So if you work with a private admissions, you know, a private college counselor, they would have, you know, their student could certainly use this program with them, because your student would have access to log in and do all those things. They would still be applying through the Common App. They would still have to do all the things that need to be done on this end.
So as a recommendation, would you recommend it go through here? I mean, ultimately, the college is gonna know where they went to school. High school.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
It says it on their transcript. It says it on their application. Yeah.
So it's not a different form, it's applications and applications, fill it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the scatter plot. So we also have financial aid information. So here we have tuition. Okay, and just make sure you notice the year. It's always the tuition's always a year or two behind. Right, financial aid opportunities, the percent of students that are receiving merit. I think that's always good information to know. Merit-based aid versus need aid. The other thing to note if a school is need blind or not. So need blind means that they do not consider your financial status when deciding if a student should be admitted or not. That can work for or against your student depending upon what your financial situation is. So if you're applying to a school that is not need blind, but you will not need financial aid, that can help. So that's just something, that's just information for you guys to know.
How do you know which sheet is specific to the school and which one is like specific nationally, like the financial aid piece?
Sure. So this is specific for, this is information that the school is given out. So any of these tabs are sort of the national information that the school is giving out. When we're talking about this information up here, where we're in the graph, where we're sort of comparing spots on the graph to other students, it's other students here.
Right, the town of North Andover.
Yep.
Is there a spot on there that tells you if it's need blind or not?
Sometimes let's see, I don't know if there's a spot on this, but if you call their financial aid office, they'll absolutely be able to give you that information. And a lot of times on the website, they'll be able to they'll give you that information as well. There are also schools that meet 100% of need. So there are some schools that will not meet 100% of need. So that's another thing to be keeping in mind when you're applying to schools.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that means? The
Yep.
need?
Me meeting 100% of need.
Yeah.
So when you apply for financial aid, you will have to fill out something called the FAFSA, and then some schools will require the CSS profile, and it essentially you have to provide financial information. So right now the senior class is filling out their FAFSA information, which will give them the opportunity to get federal financial aid. And it uses your tax information, which is why they have to wait until January 1st. And so based on your income and all that, the school, the government comes back with something called the EFC, which is your expected family contribution. And that's essentially the number that the government thinks you should be able to pay. Big quotes. Okay? And then so what the schools will do is that they'll come up with a financial aid package that says your EFC is what you're paying, and then the rest of that tuition, so what is it, $43,000, say your EFC is $20,000, and they'll come up with a way or a package to kind of compensate for that other $23,000.
But only if they cover 100% of the need.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Then on the next tab, we have some majors and degrees. So this is another way that you can kind of look at your search. So so anything that's underlined, it's a link. So if I were to click on the accounting link, it then brings me to a list of all the schools that have accounting as a major. So it's a way to kind of navigate through all of this website. I will say that the more time that you spend in Naviance looking at these lists, looking at these profiles, the more comfortable you're going to get with them. When I meet with my students individually, we spend a lot of time working on this list, looking at the different profiles, taking the virtual tours, all that kind of stuff, so we really get a sense for what is a student like, what is a student interested in, what kind of gets a student when they're looking at these schools, and all that stuff. I only have a couple more minutes, so it's a couple things I want to make sure that you guys are aware of. The other piece is when you are applying. So once we know where a student is applying and they have sort of submitted their information to the school, to us, we're sending out their stuff, they can actually track it. So, this student has decided to apply to UMass Boston. Then once they submit a form to me, we enter it in Naviance on this side. So this is actually now how they're going to track everything live. So the college I'm thinking about list is their working list that they are working on, that they're adding and deleting colleges from, that it's sort of their exploratory list. Then the colleges I'm applying to list is a list that their counselor will manage, and it sort of tracks all of their milestones. So when does your transcript get sent? When does the recommendation get sent? When does all that kind of stuff get sent? Okay? So that's the student side of it. I just want to quickly So now I'm in here as a test parent. It looks the same. I can see all the schools that my kid is thinking about. I can't add any. So it's a view-only account. It's a view-only account. So we really, really, really want students and parents working together on, and this is a Naviance thing, this is not us thing. And we really want you guys working together on this, but the students should be in the driver's seat on it. And the students should be the ones that are sort of making those changes and making those edits.
So
And then
you-
having conversations with you guys.
You can go in and explore everything.
Absolutely, you can
Just
do the
can't change it.
searches, you can do the searches, you can see all the information, you can see the scatter plots, everything. You just can't add or change anything on the list. Okay? Are there any questions? I got a couple minutes, I'm happy to answer some questions.
Quick one, is there any any tool that the students can use that this site provides or another site that shows them trends and occupations and types of careers and where the hot careers of the future are gonna be, as far as like, there are trends that you can look up now online that'll show you between now and the next 5 years, next 10 years.
Sure. So not in terms of generalities with like what's going to be great. We want to find out what's going to be great for that student. So there's a lot more that they can do in terms of that based on their interests, based on their personality, not so much on, you know, the technology swing or health services or whatever. Other questions I can answer.
What's just a very, very general timeline for you guys individually working with the students?
Sure. So this is one of our first big events that we're going to be doing with the juniors. Then we actually will go to meet with them the last week of January. We're going to be meeting with them, I believe, in U.S. history classes. And that's where we really sit down and say, okay, here are the first 3 things that you're going to do in the college process. We want you to log into Naviance, start making a college list, and pick 1 or 2 schools that you want to go and see. We live in a great place in terms of going to see schools. Go see Merrimack, go see UMass Lowell, go see Salem State, go see CBU. You've now seen 4 schools that are ridiculously different. And I don't care if you can get in to any of them, because I can find you other schools that have those same things that you're either gonna love or hate. Well, we won't find other schools that you hate, right? Find other schools that you love that you can get into that have those qualities. So we really want students to get onto college campuses early, so before students leave, because college students are gonna leave the first or second week of May. So if you think, okay, I'm gonna go in the summer, that's great, you're gonna look at an empty campus. And I want